Hey guys, OG Albino here, bringing you guys another discussion video. If you guys haven't seen yet and haven't been on the internet the last few days, we have had what we can assume to be a pretty darn big leak regarding Pokémon Legends ZA and the Megas coming out in it. So this will be a big spoiler warning territory video. If you do not want to be spoiled on anything ZA, please click off the video, come back later, whatever it may be. And also, please keep in mind, none of this is confirmed at all. It is all, in my opinion, very likely, but literally not a single thing in this video is 100% confirmed. So please keep that in mind as we go throughout. We're going to be talking about the potential Megas that is on Pokeos right here, who kind of compiles a lot of leaks. I haven't really looked at like the leaks myself and like deciphered what I think the riddles can mean, but this is at least general consensus what a lot of people think they're going to be, and I think it's fun to discuss them. We're going to discuss more so the competitive aspect of them, what they'll look like in singles, draft league, maybe a little bit of VGC, and kind of go from there. I am not alone though. I am joined by my good buddy Diet Tight. Say hello.
What's going on, my fellows? It's your boy, Diet.
And yeah, we're just going to both be going over these guys, some ideas we have for them. I also have a fun little GPLs, custom Megas list. If you guys don't remember the videos I've done in the past on GPL, it's a draft league that makes custom Megas. These are not anything spoilery. As you can see, there's hundreds of them. They make some really cool ones, and obviously because they have hundreds of Megas, they've made Megas of some of the Pokemon that were leaked in here, so we can kind of look and see what their ideas were and maybe get some ideas in that regard. So if you guys do enjoy today's video on the leaks, be sure to drop a like on the video as well as subscribe to the channel. We are on our way to 10K subs by the end of the year. It's a big goal, I know, but you can help me in reaching there by just hitting that sub button. Double check and see if you haven't done so already. And yeah, with that being said, let's jump into it. Again, big spoilers. There's one Mega in here that is like potentially really big spoiler warning for the story itself. So please keep that in mind, as I am going to scroll down on this leaks website, as I've not shown anything spoilery yet. But yeah, that being said, I am going to kind of scroll down right here. And let's see, spoiler warning, are you sure you want to continue reading? Are you sure you want to continue watching, dear viewer? I'm going to share my screen for you, Jay, too, so you can peep what we're doing right here. But we're going to keep scrolling. And yeah, so first off, we do see that there are at least 27 new Mega Pokemon. I have seen that there is potentially 32, but there's at least 20-something. What was that?
I saw that too. I also saw there was like 32, but I don't know what else they would add.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton here. I'm personally completely fine with 27. I would have been fine with 20, 15 even. Like, that's a shit ton. And obviously, keep in mind, too, these won't be able to be used in, like, a competitive contest in ZA because of the battle system, obviously. But we do have the upcoming release of Champions, and I'm sure that these guys are going to have base stats and abilities that we can, you know, plug into Champions and use them. All right, we're officially into spoiler territory. We are going to scroll down. As you see some of the Pokemon on the screen, these are Pokemon that are very likely to receive a Mega Evolution. I believe one of them that's like pretty much confirmed is Victreebel. We have guys like Clefable, Pokemon like Starmie. I mean, so many cool ones. Is there one that sticks out to you in particular, Jay, that you're like, wow, I'm really excited for this one in particular?
I would probably say Feraligatr. I think and Zeraora are probably my top two that I'm like most looking forward to. Yeah. The fucking broken guy in me is saying Zygarde, because I think that thing is going to be just disgustingly broken. But from like I like the Pokemon, it's probably Feraligatr or Zeraora. Yeah,
I could see them like basing the Mega off of like Zygarde complete and having it be like endgame raid boss. But like, how broken would that be if you added 100 base stat total to that guy? Like, absolutely insane. My personal take is the 3 Megas on this list, depending on how they allocate their stats and how they buff them, plus 100 base stat total to something like Greninja, something like Zygarde, and something like Zeraora is going to make them just unbelievably broken. They will, I'd say with 90% certainty, be uber level Pokemon, like box art level strong. Zygarde, I think, is completely like confirmed. Zeraora as a Pokemon as fast as it is, I think it's pretty much confirmed. And Greninja, they'd have to mess up pretty hard. Something I think that's cool with Greninja, by the way, is kind of like the pre-Mega idea of, in the sense of like having maybe Protean pre-Mega, but more so Battle Bond pre-Mega. If you can pick a KO with base Greninja, then you Mega, and you have a +1/+1/+1, plus your 100 base stat total boost. I mean, if you remember Ashgran in Gen 7, like what Battle Bond originally did, could you imagine if that guy just got like a Quiver Dance immediately, like an offensive Quiver Dance immediately upon, you know, also getting the form? That'd be pretty insane. So I think that that's a pretty cool idea, but we can kind of just scroll through these guys one by one. Do you have any ideas for Clefable in particular? Anything that you think it might end up getting? Any abilities or change in typing or anything of the sort?
I can't think of what they do with it. I'm trying to I keep thinking they've taken very weird Pokemon. They're all cool Pokemon, but things that have their own identity. So to change it, Clefable.
I'm wondering if they just make Clefable a bigger pink blob, in the sense of it just gets fatter, it gets a little bit stronger, doesn't really get faster. And it sucks because the abilities are so good, right? Magic Guard, Unaware. So either keeping one of those two, I could also see could you imagine potential regen Clef with 100 more base stat? I think that would make it legitimately insane.
Yeah.
You see a lot of it almost blobby type Pokemon. Yeah, it does lose Magic Guard in that regard. I'm trying to think of is there any moon related abilities that would be really, really solid? I can't really think of anything in particular.
Yeah. But one of the biggest things is all of these Pokemon have an identity that are usually tied to something. So they're either going to need to massively overhaul things because you can't just boost Clefable's defenses, or it's going to be super frail offensively.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have an item anymore, so it's not going to be very good.
I think if you make Clefable big pink blob, but just a stronger version of that, Clefable, say we get 100 base stat total and we put 30 in each of its because you can't change HP, so 30 in each of its defenses, and then that leaves you for 40 for attack. So you could do plus 40 special attack, you could do plus 30 special attack and plus 10 attack, because sometimes they'll put it in useless stats. They're not going to completely max it. So I think some combination of that, just you buff up the bulk a lot, but if you just keep it as that very middle of the pack Gen 1 blob kind of thing, just a very neutrally great Pokemon, I think it could be really insane. And again, even just keeping Magic Guard, keeping Unaware, or again, the singles player in me thinks regen could be obviously pretty insane, but anything with regen, and I don't really have a reason for regen other than it's pink blob guy, and the blob guys always get regen, your Reuniclus type beat and stuff like that. So but yeah, next up we have Victreebel, and I think that's actually a thumbnail Pokemon because GPL has, and this one's pretty much confirmed from what I've seen, everybody's yes, Victreebel is getting a mega. The reason I have this guy here in the thumbnail is because Mega Victreebel was made by GPL, and I love its design that they have for it, as you guys can see on screen. Now, I don't think that they make it this Pokemon. This mega specifically, because the ability is very convoluted, and GPL has 4 of these guys to where it sets terrain and a weather at the same time for 8 turns. So as if it had terrain extender plus, in this example, a heat rock on it, but it has an ability called Greenhouse, which sets sun and grassy terrain, which is great as a facilitator, but also the Pokemon is incredibly strong. And again, we know how good sun is in draft and singles in general. I think this should be an insane Pokemon, if that was the case. I mean, 8 turns is nuts.
I think they're gonna keep it a sun abuser. To be honest, I think this one they'll just make stronger.
Yeah, it's one of those things you keep it. You could give it keep it with chlorophyll. You could even make it a solar power type beat, and just have it be a monster. And again, see you buff up the speed by a good amount. Let's say 35 or something like that. Make it 105. I think you have to be above a base 100 if you want it to be legitimately good. But 105, and then you just throw the other 2 into both of its attacking stats and make it a strong mixed attacker. This thing could be pretty insane. It could be pretty darn strong. Again, it has access to Swords Dance, Growth, as well in the sun. So again, just a solid breaker.
I don't think they changed its typing.
No, it has to stay Grass Poison. It has to stay Grass Poison. Just nothing else makes sense. Something I did want to mention though is obviously it is kind of Venus Flytrap-esque. Another cool thing they could do is what they did with GPL did with Carnivine Mega, where it has an ability called Flytrap, which Grass Dark, obviously this type is really weak to bug. Victreebel isn't necessarily, takes neutral, but it makes sense thematically. It's Pokemon heals 1/4 of its max HP if it's hit by bug moves, and it's a bug immunity. So it's bug absorb, basically, water absorb bug type thing. I think that could be cool. I think it would make sense. I don't know if it would be as good as having chlorophyll, solar power, whatever it might be, but it would definitely be really, really strong.
Well, so the other thing to think is, and this is going to be a weird idea, but what is the current meta of VGC that Pokemon would want to counteract? Do you think any of these Pokemon are going to be anti-Terra, where once you Mega Evolve, any Terra Pokemon resort back to the original typing, or something shatters that to counter?
I'd say maybe if there was a Gen 9 Pokemon on this list, but I think like none of these Pokemon have like a direct tie thematically to Terra, so I don't think they're going to counteract Terra in that regard, especially being that they're introduced in a game that does not have Terra. So I don't think so, especially because Champion's main focus won't be Terra, right? It'll be an aspect of it, but I think it's supposed to meant to like function alongside it. But yeah.
Well, because I was trying to think, like, usually VGC is always doing something, so like they add like Covert Cloak to stop Fake Out and make Fake Out less present. Like, what can you do to like what can be added here to help out VGC that could potentially be a singles thing?
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I don't think anything for Victreebel in particular.
Yeah.
Maybe another terrain center, but it doesn't really make so much sense thematically. I don't know though. Next up we have Starmie though, and this is a Pokemon I'm actually really excited to. I see this guy in old gens draft all the time, and this guy used to be the GOAT, and now he's just like stat creep has caught up to this guy. I think this is actually the perfect example of a Mega Pokemon, like getting something that's actually going to be impactful. Because like it's dope when we get like bad Pokemon getting Megas, but they're still not great, right? Like Pokemon is so power crept to this point that they're still not great Pokemon. Whereas something like Starmie, it's just kind of been phased out of the, the metagame, and most metagames as of like Generation 8 was when it saw a big fall off. It's not in Gen 9, but it saw a big fall off in Gen 8 just due to stat creep, right? 100 base special attack just isn't doing it. Its bulk just isn't doing it. 115 speed is great, but I mean, like, if you could see this thing, getting like a really, really strong buff to its speed and special attack, say you give it like 15 extra speed, you give it plus 30 special attack and kind of fill out the defenses from there. This thing could be incredible as an offensive rapid spin option into a majority of the game. And it's also great into what I think is, especially if it's stronger, it's great into the best spin blockers. One being Petron, you obviously blow it up with a Psychic. And two being Goldango. Like, obviously you don't beat Goldango 1v1, but if you have like, let's say, 130 base power Hydro Pump, that guy switches in on a, trying to block your spin, it's going to take a shit ton, right? It's going to take a lot of damage. Yeah. So I think that could be cool. Is there any ability ideas you have for this guy, though? I'm kind of stumped on that. I couldn't really think of anything.
I can't think, like, analytic, or maybe the opposite of analytic, where they do like if you move first,
that could be really, really cool, actually. Or I'd love to think of like some like kind of like space related ability, maybe like some ability that lets Meteor Beam go in one turn.
I was just gonna say that, where like you don't need to charge for anything, so you can just click like Meteor Beam, and if like Solar Beam, I know it doesn't get that, but like
that like, kind of principle.
Yeah.
No, dude, I think that could be so cool, actually. Like having this Pokemon like have the ability to get that immediate power, or like have the pseudo power gem on it for the first time. I think there's a Pokemon in GPL that actually has that. It's Lunatone, Mega Lunatone. It's one of the two. I think it's Mega Lunatone, just regular one, not Blue Moon. Yeah, Lunar Power. Moonlight heals 75%. Moon Blast has 1.1 times power, and Meteor Beam has no charge term, removed after the Meteor Beam. Now, I don't think this is likely. Could you imagine it going to like Water Fairy instead and getting like Moon Blast, things like that? That'd be a really cool buff. That would be nuts. Because Water Fairy is just better than Water Psychic. I know it wouldn't beat Petron as well in that instance, obviously. But that'd be a pretty crazy buff and getting all of this stuff, so. Yeah, I'm definitely a big Starmie guy. It's one of my favorite Pokemon. I love using it in draft, and I think it's like a perfect example of a Pokemon that needs a Mega really well. The one I'm most excited about is this one, though. Big Bubbles, Dragonite. Do you have any fun ideas for Dragonite?
I couldn't, like...
It's hard, because, again, it's like Clefable. You don't want to lose multi-scale, and in VGC, Inner Focus is really good, right? Yeah. So, like, you're kind of downgrading the ability-wise. The one thing I could see, though, is you give... This is the one way I think Mega Dragonite is a better Pokemon than Terra Dragonite. Is if this guy gets freaking Aerialate. If this guy gets Aerialate and a crazy attack boost, man, this thing will be strong. Because like the one crux to just regular D-Knight is it just doesn't have the stab options, right? So let's look. Normal move. Obviously the big one is going to be Extreme Speed. As I move this over for you guys. The big one's going to be Extreme Speed, but Stab Flying Body Slam, not bad at all. Stab Flying Double Edge is a freaking nuke, yeah? Like, really, really strong. Does it get, like, random Hyper Voice is my next question. No, it doesn't. If it got, like, a Hyper Voice buff, I think that would actually be really, really cool, to be honest with you. Obviously, like Return, Frustration are gone. Those would be great options otherwise. But I think even just having the option of Extreme Speed, like that's enough, right? And base 80 power stab though, without having to tear. It's also not blocked by anything, right? There's no flying immunity in the game. Unless they introduce an ability to do so. So
What
we
if,
can't Terra Ghost and block the D-Knight E-Speed. Now we just have Powknight, but it's Mega Dragonite, and they gave it 164 attack because they buffed it up by 30. And they gave it 15 more speed, so it's not completely reliant on clicking E-Speed. It's faster than some stuff. And again, you can do a very general stat buff. I think literally just giving this thing Aerialate, it'd be insane.
What if they did? What if they made it Water Dragon and gave it Aerialate? So then it gets that stab. It's not 4 times weak to.
Does Aerialate also
ice
give
on it.
stab? Like it gives a stab boost? Or like it gives a, let's see. I'm curious. Let's see. Aerialate, I want to read it. Okay. It does give like a boost in general. Water Dragon would be cool.
Yeah.
I can actually totally see them doing that in general. And Water Dragon's a great typing, right? I think in doubles it definitely is just worse than regular Dragonite probably. But in singles, I mean, Water Dragon's incredible.
Cool typing.
And we can look, like move wise, it's strong. Like Waterfall, Aqua Jet priority still. Aqua Tail if you want to go a little bit stronger, but Surf, Hydro Pump, things like that. I mean, you could even make it a special attacker and it'd be strong in that regard, right? Or just like a big mixed demon. I think that could be really cool. This is the Pokemon I am most excited for, and I really hope they don't make it worse than regular Dragonite. Also, I think like Dragonite is also a funny item name, so I really hope it pops off and does well. We'll see though. Okay, next up is Meganium, and I kind of just default to like the Rad Red idea, right? Of like, this thing's gonna get a fairy typing. I'd be willing to bet money this thing with a Mega Evolution is going to get a fairy typing. We saw it have Disarming Voice in the trailer, Chikorita. I'm sure it will get more moves, Moonblast, Training Kiss, things of the sort. In Radical Red, I love using Meganium because Grass Fairy with Triage, and I think that's a cool buff. I just worry though, because Grass Fairy is just not a good typing, right?
Well, so the question is, do you think that these starters for ZA are going to get buffs before Megas?
Do you think they're going to wait? Say that again?
Do you think that there's going to be buffs to these starters before the Megas as well? Like, do you think
it's Movefull's going to change?
But like, do you think that they're going to do something for Meganium pre, like they're going to change its stats and then it's going to get the
I don't
Mega
think they're going
buff
to change
as
its stats. I don't think they're going to change the stats. You're adding 100 to its move, or 100 to its base stat total already. Meganium, right?
Attack.
Like, and I think it's just one of those instances where unfortunately the base that we're building off isn't very good, so the Mega can only be so good, right?
Yeah.
I don't think that this Mega is going to be good. I think it is going to be better than what Meganium is now, and that's a positive. But I don't think it's going to be like, you're not pulling up in round 1 pick wanting Meganium, or you're probably not, outside of the first week where you really want to make Mega Meganium work, you're probably not pulling up an OU with your Mega Meganium team. I could be completely wrong, depending on what they do, but I see them doing like Grass Fairy, Triage type of thing, some kind of healing ability. I could even see them giving it double specific like Healer, or something like that, right? Or like a Hospitality clone, like Sinisha.
Hospitality is good.
For double specifically. And again, in that instance, it could be good for doubles. But in my line of work, in singles, it doesn't seem all too great.
Yeah, I don't think this thing's going to be great. It's going to be one of those low tier megas that people take.
Now, I do want to see, this is what do you call it did with this? GPL. They made Meganium Grass Fairy, and they gave it Pixelate. And they made it a lot more offensive on the physical side. And obviously this is national decks, like this format, so it runs return very often. It has 118 base attack. It's very, very bulky, and it runs like SD, or like 4 attacks, or like synth 2 attacks, SD, things like that, and that's pretty strong. Like, you have earthquake coverage, so this is a cool idea. I don't think this is likely, but it's a cool idea. I could see, honestly, I think something like this would unironically be better than what they're probably going to do with it. At least like viability wise,
Yeah, well that's the thing. They could randomly cut like a corner on a random Mega, and you're like, damn.
This guy sucks.
Yeah. They literally just made Meganium Fairy, and that's it. They gave it Fairy and Triage, and that's it.
So
this one's cool.
Yeah, this is a cool design. I like it a lot. This is going to be Mega Feraligatr. Now, I think that I think this one, in my opinion, seems pretty likely. Not this, but like how they're going to do it. They're just going to make Mega Feraligatr more offensive, and they're going to give it a second stab. I think like it being pure water kind of sucks for it. I think it's going to be Water Dark. I think it's going to be Water Dark, Strong Jaw. Maybe they don't want to get on like Mega Sharpedo's like kind of wavelength, so maybe they keep Sheer Force on it, which Crunch is still boosted by it. It becomes Stab now. Liquidation is also boosted by it, so honestly keeping Sheer Force like this Mega Feraligatr might be better. This Ice version is really cool though, and it's the same thing. The idea is just Sheer Force, Ice Punch becomes Stab, and you run DD and you run Swords Dance. Now, yeah, it has to be a pretty considerable buff to the attack for it to really be better than Sheer Force Life Orb, so that's something else to keep in mind. But this thing is pretty fat, and they made this a lot stronger. 145, so I think Mega Feraligatr is definitely like going to be one of those more like mid-tier megas, right? That's what I was thinking. You got again the ability thing is you got to make it worth the time to not just run Life Orb, Sheer Force as its base form. Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, exactly. Like, you have to incentivize me to use this Mega. It needs to be better than the base form, like a Garchomp Syndrome, kind of, right? Yep. Next up is Mega Skarmory. This one's really cool because I think this is a Pokemon that really, really needs it. Again, another, like, titan of old-gen singles and, like, old-gen competitive, at least singles. Again, it's always been bad in doubles, right? I have an SPL right now, and it did, like, clutch up one of the games for me. But, like, traditionally, not a very good doubles Pokemon. But for singles, it's just fallen off like crazy. They're just Pokemon that do its job better, and stat creep has gone pretty nuts. And I think this thing could be great as a defensive Mega, like, along the lines of, like, fellow, like, Steel-type Megas in, like, Aggron and Steelix. Do you have any cool ideas for Skarmory? It would have to be, like, maybe, like, it gets, like, Lightning Rod. That would be really cool. I could totally see that, actually. Like, the more, like, I don't know how exactly, like, science-wise it works, but, like, the more metal on it or something like that, it, like, conducts the electricity and, like, you know, pushes it through its body. I think, like, Volt Absorb might be... Well, no, Lightning Rod's a better ability in doubles, so maybe they'll do that, right? Like, because it, like, redirects it to you. But for singles, I think Volt Absorb would just be better. I think the Mega Skarmory they have in a GP, again, I keep referencing this just because it, like, gives us a cool place to kind of bounce off of for you guys. I drafted this thing in that season, and I did pretty good with it. I made playoffs with it, and they had such a cool idea for it. And again, I don't know if Pokemon ever goes this hard with their abilities because it is a little convoluted. This one is same kind of idea. It just gets, like, more armor on it. It gets way faster, so, like, the armor is, like, more streamlined. Stronger, too, which is good. One-time base attack isn't bad. Like, you see, like, the sample sets run SC a lot. But the ability was pristine armor. This Pokemon's defense and Spadef are boosted by 25%, on top of the buff they already got. But it wears off if it's hit by a water move or in the rain, which is saying, like, the rain, like, kind of, like, debuffs the armor, which is a really, really cool interaction, right? It makes this thing basically weak to water, right? You get hit by a water move, you're just so much worse of a Pokemon. But, like, 25% on top of base 150 defense and 90 Spadef is pretty insane, and it makes up for what, like, one of Skarmory's big cruxes is its terrible HP stat of 65, which they're not going to be able to address with a Mega. As they don't, unless they change their mind, right? They've never really adjusted that before, so I think it's going to be cool. I don't think it's going to be, like, a world ender Mega. I think it's literally just going to, like, be a fat defensive, you know, Mega that sticks around a long time. Next up, we have Froslass. What do you think about Froslass? It makes sense, right? It makes sense. It takes Starmie for me. It's just like, it just needs to be faster and stronger. Maybe they'll give it, like, Stakeout. Mm-hmm. Oh, that could be cool. Yeah. I could also see it getting just Snow Warning. And again, very simple answer, but, like, it getting Snow Warning on top of having Aurora Veil, but being, like, a threatening Veil setter, you know? like an actually genuinely threatening one, not a Ninetales. So I think you'd, like, again, ideally what you'd want is you want them to not do what they did with Mega Glalie, which is obviously its counterpart, where they made Mega Glalie, like, very jack of all, master out. Well, I guess not, though. No. If you just did to Froslass, stat-wise, what you did to Mega Glalie, it'd probably be pretty insane, right? So you give this thing 130 base speed, because you give plus 20 to speed for Glalie, and I only know Glalie's original base stats because of ADV, shouts to ADV, and then you give it, say, like, 20 more each of its attacks, 100, 100, that'd be awesome. Or you could go even just, like, less on the speed, and just give it, like, 20 or like 10 or something like that, and then you split those 5 into the attacking stats and make it 105 in each, or just lean super heavy into special attack. I think that plus like Veil 3 attacks could be really strong. It also gets spikes. Like this would be a demonic lead Pokemon. This would be so hard to deal with because you also have to keep in mind the snow boost, right? With like
100%.
Snow Pokemon getting a defense boost, so it gets bulkier. You set up Veil. You can't kill on the physical side despite it being a physically weak typing. You're strong. You set up Veils. You know, you're super fast. You have great utility like Veil, Spikes, Destiny Bond, shit like that. Like that could be super cool. I'd be here for that 100%. I want to see what they did with it in GPL though, because I know they have one. Again, it's one that just like makes sense in the sense of like, fucking Glalie got one. This thing, yeah. So they actually did my idea, like to a T. I swear I did not look at that before. Oh, and it gets Blizzard too. Dude, those Blizzards are hit so fucking hard. Duh. But yeah, they just gave it Snow Warning and made 130 base speed. They leaned heavy into the special attack, buffed up the defenses a little bit, kept the attack the same. That would be ideal. I could see them just like carbon copy pasting whatever Glalie had. All right, I'll keep moving. Emboar next. Do you have any crazy ideas with this one? For me, I think they're just gonna give it like Reckless. They could make it Rockhead too. Like I think it's gonna be another recoil based ability. Let it throw off its strong attacks and not get punished for or boost them. What was that?
Do you think they changed the typing?
I could see it for them to be like, we're making Emboar more unique. I could see personally. I think the only one I could see personally is like maybe like ground. Like it like becomes like super. I don't know.
Like camera.
Yeah, which is like, honestly though, I know people don't like the firefighting stuff because we have 2 other ones that are better, but firefighting's a good typing. You know, like there's a reason those other Pokemon are good. They're fast and they have a great typing. And more slow, but they could really, I worry about any typing that I can get leaves it open to like a really shitty 4 times weakness. Like a really bad one.
Well, do you think they lean into it and make it like a Trick Room monster?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if we're thinking doubles, right? I could totally see it. Again, its HP is already so good. So, like, if you just give this thing, like, a big boost, you could even lower its speed, right? Like, kind of like a Camerupt type treatment and an Abomasnow type treatment. Or, like, it gets so bulky and big in its design, it's like, okay, this thing is physically slower, but that gives us more room to play with its, you know, stats, right? We can give it a shit ton of attack, give it, like, plus 50 attack, make it super slow. Maybe we give it a worse defensive typing so it's more punishable. But then you like buff up the defenses. It has crazy HP. I mean, this would be like the premier Trick Room Pokemon in VGC, right? And you could do some Trick Room stuff in singles as well. So,
and nothing switches into Fire Ground. What's taking those hits?
Nothing switches into Fire Ground. Nothing switches into Firefighting. Like you have a crazy move pool. This Pokemon, if you've ever used it in singles, I'm sure like at home you'll know this thing is very strong. It's not necessarily good, but it's strong. You know. So. I think this definitely has the potential of being like a strong Trick Room guy in doubles. Maybe not the best singles Mega, but I mean, there's still value in those, right? Like I've drafted Mega Camera up in singles before, and he's gone crazy.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Excadrill, though. Is there anything you're thinking Excadrill specifically? This is another one where I think they're just going to highlight its positive features.
They've got to keep it a sand abuser, right?
I think so. That's like kind of like what it's built itself on. I think they're just going. It's going to be one of those megas. Like there's a few of them where they don't really like add anything crazy to them. They just say, okay, what is Drill good at? Strong, offensive, fast Sand Sweeper. So if they buff up the speed, they buff up the attack. They keep it with either Sand Rush or Sand Force. I hope it's Sand Rush. I think it's just a generally better ability. You can also go Sand fast. Yeah, I was gonna say if you make it like super fast, Sand Force might be demon, right? If it just gains like 40 attack, you know, and then it gains, you know, like it goes up to like even plus 100 speed, like. Yeah. Even if it's just like 105-ish area, low key, that's kind of like not bad at all.
Yeah, the only thing is that means it's going to lose Mold Breaker, which means that like the things that wall it, like a Bronzong, is just going to sit on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Now it's also the idea of like you can stay on Mega though, right? So like it's just something you in obviously the game is team preview, so like you'll be able to see that in the matchup whether you're building or whether you see it. No, you're like okay. I run Mold Breaker pre-Terra. You'd always run Mold Breaker pre-Terra on a set like this, probably.
Yeah.
All things depending. I mean, maybe you run Sand Rush and Draft if you're like, okay, I can like be faster than everything, and then if I need to get strong, I can Mega, kind of like a Mega Garchomp in old gens. This is how people would play it. You know, you keep the 102 speed tier as long as you need it, and then when everything's slower, you either need to live a hit or freaking kill something, you Mega Evolve. So it could play like that potentially. I think that's definitely potentially an option. This is one that I'm really excited for because it's one of my favorite Pokemon in singles, and it's going to be Scolipede. This one in particular, I think, has the potential to go crazy depending on what ability they give it, because of the fact that it has pre-Mega Speed boosts. So much like something like a Sharpedo, you can non-Mega turn 1, either Swords Dance, Protect, whatever it is, and then Mega, if we have like a boosting ability to our attack that makes us stronger, like some kind of adaptability because it's a bug, right? Say it gets that. Say even if it's like something like a little less good, like a Merciless or something like that. If you get enough of a stat boost, it doesn't super matter. Like you're going to do a crazy and that's one of the things with like Scully is it's very weak, like naturally. Like you need that SD boost to like really threaten things, or like Z-moves back in the day. But like base 100, that ain't shit anymore, you know? So I think like depending on what it could get post Mega ability wise is really what's going to make or break this Pokemon in particular. But especially if it gets faster too, even like on top of how fast it is now.
Yeah. One of the things I will say, and this has nothing to do with competitive, is I'm very excited for what these are going to look like, because I feel like Scolipede is a complete design. Like, like
what do we add on to Scolipede? Well, it's like Megas are very hit or miss in design wise for me too, because it's like some Megas you're like, oh, that's a really cool aspect. Like I don't know, you draw some out of it, and sometimes they're just like, we're gonna make this Pokemon again, but there's more of it.
Yeah, Chandelure with more candles.
Dude, true. I mean, it'll be like a full like dining hall type thing. Dude, what if it comes out as a full kitchen set? Oh my gosh. We have Scrafty next though, and this is one of your guys.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah, I know, dude. I knew you were juiced when you saw that shit. Is there anything you can think of when it comes to like abilities or like potentially
because he has he has the 3 best abilities that you could ask for. Like
Moxie,
out of a
Intim,
Pokemon?
Shedskin. Yeah, it's all great abilities as a Pokemon.
Like, so you don't want him to go down to 1. You want him to have an item. Like, and so he keeps like a really shitty weakness of Fairy, but can't do anything about it.
Can't
like
Terra.
I don't.
Can't Roselia. Can't Terra. Can't AV. It's one of those things that definitely I don't think it'll be as good. What I think could make it great. What I think it could be really make it great is if it keeps Intim, because what that does is it's double Intim the first time, and I think that's
that would be cool.
I think it's a really cool idea. You'll see it in ROM hacks all the time with like Manectric, where they'll give it Intim pre-Mega. You'll like send out your Manectric Intim, Mega, Intim, and you're like, oh shit, that's nice too. I think it's a really really cool interaction, especially if they buff up the physical defense. It can make it really really powerful. But I think other than that though, it's gonna be not great.
Yeah, especially from a VGC perspective, you can't switch. You can't cycle out and intimidate the freaking first turn.
Oh, for sure. And again, fake out support, knock. Like, as someone who's using Scrafty in VGC right now, this guy's insane. So, like, making it better. Yeah. I mean, like, with how fast VGC games go, too, having a double Intim could potentially just be game winning, like on its own. Like with this Pokemon, again, VGC hits, let me know. Would a double Intimidate on a Pokemon with really, really great stats and fake out and knock off and all this stuff, all these very Incineroar-esque qualities, would it make it Incineroar level? I don't know. We'll see. Chandelure is next, and this Pokemon has the potential, I think, to be insane. Where my mind first went with it, I don't know if you remember, like, or I don't know, remembering isn't a thing. We were probably like 12. But back in Gen 5 when they had like the Dream World stuff, and like not all Dream World mons were released with their hidden abilities, some of them ended up changing that didn't ever get released. One of them that never got released was Shadow Tag Chandelure, and it was like a top tier threat in Ubers. Cool. Because, I mean, if you think of trapping abilities, Dugtrio, Gothitelle, those Pokemon on their own are terrible. They're not good. They don't have good stats. They have okay move pools. They're carried by having a broken ability in singles, and that's why they're broken. Chandelure, while slow and frail, is incredibly strong and a lot easier to and a lot faster than what Wobbuffet, Gothitelle would be, you know, in that regard, and a lot stronger than what Dougie could be. So it was like a top tier Ubers threat. I personally could imagine them immediately just being like, fuck it, Shadow Tag. You know, that is Chandelure. And that is another Pokemon that is insta. You're never getting to play with this thing unless you're playing Ubers.
Gets banned.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. It's very Mega Gengar-esque, right? And again, it's already working with a crazy special attack stat. And there's no way they make a Mega...
or something, right?
There's no way they make a Mega Chandelure and they don't buff this up to at least 175 in my mind. I think it like has to be 175. And it'll find entry points on fires with like Flash Fire, things like that. Punish with Flame Body. Like, it has good pre-Mega abilities. So depending on how they buff this thing, even if they like just make this thing like somewhat fast. Again, 100 plus. Not 100, but like 105 plus for me is like good at this point. Especially like if you're just like a breaker. Yeah. This thing will still be insane. Fire Ghost is really strong. But yeah, I don't know. Do you have any other ideas for Mega Chandelure before we go on to the Kalos starters?
No, I think fucking Shadow Tag would be incredible.
All right, next up we have Chestnut. This one makes me sad. I think this guy's gonna suck.
I think he's gonna blow. Unfortunately, I love Chespin.
I think they could like. I wonder if they did this one. Chestnut, it just has an offensive typing, an offensively inclined typing. Not even like the best offensive typing in the world, but it is more offensive leaning, right? Grass fighting is actually not bad neutrally into a lot. Look at Breloom, right? But what it is bad is defensively, and Chestnut is a defensive Pokemon. They are not going to make Chestnut like, you know, a speedy attacker. They are going to make him more bulky. One way I could see them potentially fixing this and making it better is if they let like super lean into it and they say, fuck it, you're a grass steel type now. And while you do have that Force and Weakness to Fire, it is a better type. Yeah, Grass Rock's not. Grass Rock is an improvement on fighting, but it's still not great. It's still rock, right? Yeah. But it's an improvement. Unless they fully lean into it and they're like, this is Mega Ferrothorn, which I don't think they'll do, right? Because from the fans' perspective, they see this thing as steel typing and like Iron Barbs or Rough Skin, you know? Probably Iron Barbs in that specific instance. People are just gonna be like, this is Ferrothorn, but a fucking hedgehog or whatever it is, you know? So I don't think they'll do that just like from a design perspective, but I think that's the only way I think this guy would be like really, really good personally. So I don't know. Yeah. It's a tough look. Delphox though, I think this guy will be dog.
Do you think they're going to make the first ever Fire Fairy? Do you think they're going to give it Fairy?
I see it going in a couple directions. I can see Fire Fairy. That'd be really cool. It gets Dazzling Gleam already. It has a stab it needs. I'm fine with the Pokemon having one stab if it's good. Dazzling Gleam is good. They can also just give it Moonblast, right? So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But I could also see them like leaning into like the Mage, right? Because like, let's like keep in mind like you're a D&D guy. These guys are all based on like D&D classes, right?
Yes, sir.
Tank, Mage, and then I don't know what the Greninja one is. Is it like Stealth or?
Yeah, like a Rogue.
Rogue, that's what it is. So they'll probably, if I had to imagine, lean super heavy into those D&D inspirations for design. So you lean super heavy into the Mage, and it gets a big hat and a big wand, and it's like, you know, so you lean super heavy into it. And I think what you do to make this guy insane, as simple and boring as it is, it's another ability we've already talked about today, is just Magic Guard. For singles specifically. Yeah. I don't know if they care about that for doubles, because it's just not as good in doubles. And it's obviously not good for the sense of like Sheer Force Life Orb, but not Sheer Force Life Orb, Magic Guard Life Orb, but being a fire type that does not have to hold boots, is not weak to Stealth Rock, is so valuable. And this thing's stats and move pool are already good, right? They're already very good. I've used Delphox and Low Tier before, and I loved it. 114 special attack, 104 speed. You know those will be buffed up. Yeah, I think speed maybe like only like 10. It's probably not going to get way faster, but the special attack is going to get bumped up. So like 115 with Fire Psychic is an incredible offensive typing, especially with the coverage that this thing has. I mean, Dazzling Gleam, Grass Knot, obviously Flamethrower Psychic / Psyshock, things like that. It gets great utility, like Will-O-Wisp gets Scorching Sand, Shadow Ball, Signal Beam, like it gets crazy coverage. Like legitimately insane coverage. It gets fast Encore too. Agility and Calm Mind and Nasty Plot and Stored Power. Like I think this could be maybe not a like round 1 mega, but I think it could totally be a top tier mega depending on how they want to buff it. I think it's literally Magic Guard will make this thing insane.
Yeah, I'm interested. And speaking of that, do you think, maybe I should ask this earlier, do you think they're going to do split Mega Evolutions at any point for any of these?
No. I think there's already actually, yes, Zygarde. I could see Zygarde specifically. I could see each of its form having a Mega form. like 10%
That'd be
Mega,
cool, yeah.
50% Mega, 100% Mega. And I would love that. That would be so cool because I don't think 10% Mega would be broken. So we'd get to use one of them. I think 50% would be broken. I think 100% would obviously be very broken. That's like raid boss type beat. But I could see them doing it with Zygarde specifically. On to Greninja though, we talked about this a little bit before we recorded. I think this also has the potential to be like an Ubermon. Already because like it already has a great stats, right? It's already so fast. You make Greninja stronger. That's great. But I think a big thing to think about with a lot of these Mega Pokemon is their pre-Mega application.
Yeah, like you said at the beginning of the video, the like fucking Ashgren +1/+1/+1.
Yeah, exactly. That is 100%. Like you get a Battle Bond boost with Greninja, pre-Mega, you kill something, and then you're like, oh shit, I got my Battle Bond, now it's time to Mega Evolve and get 100 BST more. I mean, your Ashgren in Gen 7 with a +1, with a Scarf and a Specs, and you get switch moves. Like, insane. Ashgren was already broken on its own. I think pretty much guaranteed, unless they super fumble, Greninja is going to be broken, in singles at least. Like, absolutely broken. Maybe not good in doubles, but...
Yeah, you're not using that. You're not using.
Get ready to learn BBL. You're playing with it Ubers. Like that's about it. Pyroar though, I have a cool idea for this. Do you have anything for this guy?
No.
So what I think could be cool is maybe leaning into the more physical aspect of it. You know how it has Moxie pre-Mega? I could see that being like thematically like, because like Mega Evolution is like drawing out the latent energy and power of like these Mega Pokemon, right? Some of them like more primal, like the Mega Aerodactyl, like in its Pokedex entry, it's like this is what Aerodactyl looked back in ancient times. It's like calling upon its ancient forms. Or like Mega Salamence looks like Roaring Moon, which is a quote unquote ancient version of Salamence, right? So like, and they both have very similar qualities. So what if Pyro was a more like aggressive and like dominant physical attacking, like it went after its prey back in the past, and it really draws that out this time. So we see like a big stat increase. We see a big drop in special attack, a big increase in attack and speed, and then you have it lean like more on that like, you know, primordial side of like it being like a dark type, because it has crazy dark coverage too. It has Crunch, it has Dark Pulse. Let's see, is it just those? Payback, Snarl, Thief, things like that, but it has a lot of dark type coverage moves. So I could totally see being Fire Dark, going full physical, and you just like kind of, you can synthesize the design down to just like one universal one. But you could also totally, this could be a split Mega too. This could totally be a split Mega. Male and female Mega Pyroar. That'd be insane. They don't have that, right? I don't think there's any like male-female Megas.
No, there's not.
Yeah, dude, this guy could definitely be really sick now that I think about it. And this is another Pokemon that's just terrible. Like, last time I saw this guy used was like Gen 7 draft. Like, people draft as like a tier 5 Z user. And it come to like one game, and they pretend like it was good, and then they're like, I'm never bringing Pyroar again. Next up we have Dragalge, though. What do you think about Dragalge?
I think this mon is gonna kind of suck. I think it's gonna be a good trick room Pokemon.
Yeah.
It's just...
Especially if it keeps like adaptability. I mean, like it's already such a good ability. I think it could be okay if it gets a stat boost like similar to this. So this is Mega GPL's idea for it, and I don't think Pokemon's cool enough to think of abilities like this, unfortunately. But this thing has Decay, which is the Pokemon's attacks reduce the targets by Spadef by one stage after dealing damage. So you get like a -1 on your opponent if you damage them with a special attack. Which you have a pretty spammable Sab combo, Dragon Poison, you have coverage of Focus Blast and Water moves. Acid Spray is a really crazy tech with that, because then it goes down to -3. It's also...
Like flip.
Yeah, Flip Turn. Yeah, Flip Turn into another special breaker that deals with X Steel type switching. Like, I don't know, I'm blanking on like a special attacker that really bullies Steel types, which switching on Dragalge. Something like that, like an offensive fire. You just Flip Turn in, you
Pyroar.
Get it to -1. Yeah, dude, your regular Pyroar. Hell yeah, look at the core. I think that's really cool, but even then, even if it just like Poison Dragon's a good typing, right? And like if we buff up its defensive stats, like this thing getting 115 defense, like having a usable defense stat, 153 Spadef, this is basically like you're holding an Assault Vest on your Dragalge. But you can like T-Spike up and be annoying in that regard. I think they definitely play on like the poison aspect of it more than like the dragon aspect. So while I don't know if this ability is something they'll ever go for, I think I could see them going in this direction. I could see them doing Merciless for this too. Like you set up a T-Spike with it and you poison things, and then you just get to crit Draco everything that's not a steel type.
That would go crazy.
Yeah, that could be really, really nuts. You play into like that team with no T-Spike absorber, you set up a T-Spike, and it's wraps. Next up we have Hawlucha, Mega Hawlucha. This is an interesting one. It's another Pokemon that, like, in my mind, functions off of that Unburden ability. Do you have any ideas for this guy? It's a really spammable stab type, right?
Yeah.
Like fighting
They
flying.
just gotta make it super strong. Like, I think it's base 90 attack currently, or is it like super
92.
weak?
92, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not strong. It needs an SC to win, right? This GPL idea, they have it, moves that can miss, get 1.2 times base power. So, like, high jump kick and stone edge are super boosted up. And dual wing beat is actually boosted, which is pretty cool. And they gave it, like, 130 attack, 130 speed. You definitely make it fast, and you definitely make it, like, super, super strong. But I wonder, is it even just, like, outside of Fearless, is it just Reckless? Is Reckless just better? Reckless seems broken, actually, because high jump kick and Brave Bird are both boosted. Yeah, I could totally see. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Because it's,
because there's like a potential to recoil on the move. Yeah, I can totally see it. Again, you don't even have to run SD on a set like that if it's strong enough. Like this kind of idea, Encore pivot, like Brave Bird, high jump kick, U-turn Encore. It's like actually kind of nuts. You could also be Defog in that slot or whatever it might be. You'd be Mold Breaker before Mega too, so yeah, it's actually pretty cool. Here's the big spoiler one, Floette Eternal. What do you know about this one? I don't know anything about it. I'm kind of like looking it up.
Its stats are pretty cool.
Floette Eternal, completely illegal.
What are its stats? It's good stats.
It's like better Florges, right? Pretty much. It's just better Florges. This thing's pretty cool. I wonder like what you do for it though, because it would be like is it Light of Ruin? Yeah, this move's pretty broken. Oh, you could give it Magic Guard, and then Light of Ruin becomes like completely spammable.
That would be fucking stupid.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
It's always so weird giving a pre-evolution a form.
It's like the paradoxes.
Yeah.
Moonblast, like Light of Ruin. You could give it like some kind of like fairy stab buff, like fairy moves are way stronger because it has shitty coverage, right? Like I actually don't think this Pokemon, maybe if you could hold Eviolite on it, I actually don't think this Pokemon, if you insert it into Gen 9, would actually be all that good. Maybe with Terra, like Terra Fairy would be like fucking a nuke, but like
it seems like a shitty Enamorous.
Yeah, deadass. It doesn't have the coverage right now, right? So I mean, maybe unless we also know nothing about this Pokemon, right? Like this move pool is just Floette's move pool with Light of Ruin on it, so it could be way better than this, right? They could just like beef this thing up and give it Earth Power and Mystical Fire and like Recover and Calm Mind and I don't know, fucking Volt Switch, Overheat, like a bunch of crazy stuff. They could be like the flower has the power of all elements and it could fucking Ice Beam for all we know.
Or it's like Mega Floette Internal has the use of the weapon in XY.
Yeah, it just fucking kills your opponent. They die.
It's Exodia.
Mega Floette's flower turns into a fucking gun. And it just shoots your opponent. That's Pokemon Gun. The sequel to Sword and Shield. Alright, next up is Barbaracle. This is another one?
What's
that?
I think it's gonna suck.
Yeah. It's another one. I don't know what they're gonna do with this guy. I mean, like, Shell Smash Sweeper. I also don't like Shell Smash, right, by the way. Like, I'm a big anti-Shell Smash guy. In Draft, specifically. On the ladder, I'm sure this guy will cheese the shit out of people with a big stat boost in Shell Smash. In Draft, in particular, I see your Shell Smash guy. I'm going to run a Mirror Herb, and then I'm going to beat you. I'm going to run a Mirror Herb with something that's faster, which probably isn't going to be hard to find. But I think, like, general application, ladder, maybe even in doubles 3 direction. Like, something with Shell Smash that's, like, actually fast and strong could be cool. I wonder if they do some, like, because I think this is also going to be a guy where they just, like, give it more binacles. There's, like, more binacles, like, poking out of it. It just gets, like, bigger. Maybe it turns into, like, Golurk size. And it could get, like, an ability that, like, turns certain hits into multi-hit moves or, like, certain Chancellor or something like that. I don't know. I'm not too hyped on this one. I think it's cool that it's getting one, but I am personally not a big Barbaracle fan, so I'm not super gassed. I'm not super gassed when I'm getting a Mega. Not because it doesn't deserve it, but just because like I don't care. It's a Barbaracle.
Yeah, it doesn't deserve it anyway.
Yeah, we talked about Zygarde. I think this guy's just gonna keep Aura Break, and I think it's gonna get a stat fucking boost. It could get a different ability too. I literally don't think it matters unless we get a 10% form. There's potential that guy isn't broken enough to ban, but even then it might be, right? 1,000 arrows, big stat boost to where it's like actually strong and it's even faster than it is now.
So dumb.
Yeah, like I think that one even potentially could just be broken.
I could see it not being allowed in like fucking Ubers.
Yeah, like Mega Zygarde 100%. There's a very real possibility that is just not allowed at all.
Yep.
Mega Drampa is next up here. And I didn't have many ideas for this one, but it does have like a GPL version. And I think this is a really, really cool idea. Again, don't know how cool Pokemon is, but it has an ability called Ancient Wisdom that it negates the turn for recharge moves. Or like it negates the recharge move for tunes that require recharge. So it just lets it the
perfect move to give it.
What?
Roar of Time.
Dude,
right?
Dude, yeah, it's like ancient, so they give it Roar of Time, Hyper Beam. They buff nothing besides like its special attack, and that's it. It becomes like the most demon. This becomes Blood Moon on just like crack cocaine.
Just crazy.
And as the spread Hyper Voice, Hyper Beam, Roar of Time, like honestly pretty insane. I don't know if it gets any other recharge moves. I think this idea was literally just like with Hyper Beam in mind, but this thing also gets Roost too, by the way, which is broken. It also gets Glare. Like this thing would be really, really good with a Mega. Like if it just had more stats. Normal Dragon isn't bad as a neutral defensive typing. Giving this thing with 175 special attack and stab Hyper Beam. Goodness gracious.
Would go crazy.
What do you even do? Falinx is next. I think they could do so many cool things with this. Do you have any ideas?
I have a really silly one.
Okay.
They could make its Mega based off the Trojan horse.
Dude.
Because they're kind of like
Sneak Attack is his new ability.
Yeah. Sneak Attack. But like, cause they're kind of like they're like Spartans. So then you could do like the Trojan, like
the Trojan horse in Troy and things like that. Oh, I could totally see it. I saw someone say that they like could do like each of the Falinx like specializes in some kind of Greek weapon or type of combat. So like one of them is holding a spear and like has like a little spear. One of them has like a bow and arrow. One of them has like a
that would be cool.
A shield or whatever it is. And I'm wondering if like you could do some kind of ability that boosts a certain stat based on XYZ, like whatever stat you want to be boosted upon switching. Or like an ability like what about an ability called like Fighting Spirit, right? You just buff this thing up, an ability called Fighting Spirit that's specific to this guy, and when you use like No Retreat or a move that's like, or when you're trapped in by something, so Fire Spin, Mean Look, whatever, you get an Omni Boost. So instead of a single Omni, instead of boosting No Retreat, you get an Omni Boost from No Retreat, then like Fighting Spirit activates, like Proud Fighter activates, and then you get another Omni Boost on top of that. And it also like, it could be anti like trapping cheese, stuff like that in draft. Like I don't think that's super niche, right? Yeah. But I could totally see like some kind of like way of like highlighting Falinx's whole thing being like No Retreat, the Spartan Warrior, Falinx kind of thing. I think that could be so sick.
Do you think it would get banned?
Depending on the stats, yeah. I mean, but it's another one of those Meganium type beats. Look with what we're working with.
Yeah. Well, I remember when.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, were you gonna say when Falinx first came out, we knew it was gonna get an Omni Boost. We're like, that's so bannable, and then it wasn't.
Yeah, and then it was ass. And we're like, wait.
Yeah.
We're good because this guy
fucking blows.
Has no stats. He doesn't kill anything at +1 because he's really bad. Yeah, and again, this guy could be cool. Again, it's anti-intimidate too. You can't intimidate a pre-mega. So like, Defiant, something switches in. Fucking, they're sacking their Incineroar. You get a Defiant boost, Mega, No Retreat boost, or Fighting Spirit boost, and then you get up to like fucking Omni boost with +3 attack. Like, insane. Right? I think you couldn't make the stats too broken if it had like a broken ability like that like gave you a double Omni boost. But again, if we have 100 stats to work with, this is like 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 or something like that. Maybe you don't boost up the speed that much potentially. But it could be cool, and it still would not OHKO a lot at +2, by the way. Does no retreat let you like not be phased? It traps the user. I wonder if it allows you to be phased. I think that would also be a big thing too. Like, could you roar this thing out? Could you Dragon Tail it or Whirlwind or whatever it might be? I think if you could, then potentially a little bit better. And lastly, Zeraora, another Pokemon I think is very likely to be banned.
Yeah.
It's just when you have this stats, so when you're 143 speed, you're faster than Dragapult. It already has strong attacking stats, like not great, but 112, 102 is respectable. When this gets buffed by 20 and this gets buffed by 20 and the steam goes up by like 10 or 15, holy crap. Like what are you gonna do, man? It seems really, really insane. I do want to see, there was one Pokedex entry that I saw someone mention in like a video I was watching. I'm pretty sure it's an Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon. Yeah. Or is it not? Dude, I could have sworn this could have been fake news. Nope. Is it Pokemon Home? Is there a home option? I could have sworn, so I could be 100% wrong, but I saw someone mention that Zeraora in one of its Pokédex entries, maybe it's the home description of it, it says that it was like born of a volcano, and I could totally see them giving it like an electric fire typing. I want to see, I think it's just Rotom that has that right now, right? Or is there another one?
Yeah. No, I think that's the only one.
Yeah, it's just Rotom. So it'd give us like an official, like this is an electric fighting type. Oh, I guess it is also a form. So it's another form, but still cool. And it has Fire Punch. It has Blaze Kick. So there is like moves in its move pool that it has to take advantage of that. So Electric Fire with some kind of crazy strong ability. I don't know. Even if it's just Volt Absorb, it keeps Volt Absorb. If it gets enough of a stat boost and gets like a secondary stab, like stab fire moves to even hit a lot of those grass or grounds that you don't typically hit. Low-key insane. Especially because you have Play Rough coverage too, which dragons check your stabs otherwise because of that.
And you have Grass Knot for like the rock types.
Yeah, exactly. And close combat. They could also just like lean into this guy just being like an electric fighting master and make it like super steroids Palmot, you know, and make it super insane in that regard. I think that would also be super broken. I don't see many things they could do with this Pokemon to not make it broken. Like genuinely, you give this thing 100 base stats, like it's just not gonna work, man. Like something is going to be broken. But yeah, I don't know. That's what I think. And I think that's all of them right now. Do you have any other like parting words or thoughts on any of these guys before we dip out for the night?
No, I'm super excited to see what they end up doing with it.
Oh, I'm so excited.
I feel like there's gonna be so much speculation until like people are just gonna be saying crazy shit until like fucking Clefable's gonna be a physical attacker and like shit's just gonna.
Or it's gonna
crazy
become part ghost like Gengar because it's Gengar's in shadow. So like Gengar comes out and it gets like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing, or like a Two-Face kind of thing, where like halfway down the middle it's like a ghostly like figure, and then the other half is Clefable. Oh, dude, they could do so many cool things, and that's kind of why I didn't do like a stat prediction video or like something super edited, because I want to wait for these guys to like officially be announced. Because also some of these could just not get megas. By the way, again, I want to reiterate, none of this is confirmed. But say these are all correct, or most of them are. As they come out, I will be doing stat prediction videos, abilities. I feel like once you get the design of a Pokemon in your face, you can 100% like make educated guesses on what they're going to do in a competitive landscape. I've gotten pretty good at it, actually. I do it with pretty much all upcoming leading games. I started back in like Sword and Shield DLC, and I've been doing it since. So stick around for those videos. As we get trailers, I'm sure we'll get some throughout the summer. I mean, if they have 27 megas, they might not show us all of them in trailers. They're going to show us a lot of them. And I'll try and have videos out day of those. Obviously, go check out Jason as well. I know he's going to be putting out a more edited video on some predictions on these guys, where they might fall in the metagame, some ideas that he has specifically on what they might do, or even just like general, hey, this Pokemon is good now, give it 100 base stats and a better ability. Just more thoughts on the megas if you're also excited about these leaks. As excited as we are, and again, if you're watching the video, you probably are. So go check out Jason. He's going to have some awesome content on that. Also make some awesome Draft League content. And yeah, with that being said, we'll cut it right before we hit the hour mark. Thank you guys for watching. Drop a like if you enjoyed. So if you're new, we'll see you in the next one. Later.